Hello, hello, hi, hello, Yella. It is me. I feel so bad. It is I. Smoked out Didi or radio on the internet a week late. Okay, but I'm back, you guys. Okay, the thing is, I'm back. I'm here to talk about the Real Housewives of Cape Town, episode 5. I promise I will have 6 like literally a day after I post this one or 2. Because this was a snooze fest, but I feel like I can't do both of them in one video. It's gonna be too long, but I also can't just skip to video 6 because I didn't like episode 5, because so much of what happens in episode 6, you know, the seed was sown in episode 5. So it was a snooze fest for like a bit, but it's where it carries the season. So I'm gonna have to go and talk about it. Scene 1 in episode 5, we see Rush and Beverly. Bev meets up with Rush at the gym. It's a boxing lesson she's having. They sit down, they get to talking, and Rush wants to catch up because she was out of the loop because she had been sick from COVID. So she was not able to be on the boat party. So then Beverly explains to Rush that I was so offended. I didn't understand why the girls couldn't just talk about or tell me that they're not okay with the fact that there wasn't going to be food. Then Rush says in her confessional, and not to Beverly's face, which I'm like, what even is the point? She's like, yeah, people need food. And yeah, no fucking shit. So Beverly's like, I had seen drinks being spilled and food going everywhere at Tato's event, and I didn't want that to happen on this yacht because a friend had loaned her the yacht. And she wanted it to stay in pristine condition. Wadimiwa walabisa. Borrowing, that stuff is just pay for something. We didn't even get to see the yacht. Like, if the person really wanted the yacht to get publicity for yachting purposes and for parties and for people, unless they don't need the money like that, right? It's a yacht that they own because they want to have a yacht for their family and they don't necessarily want people to charter it or anything like that. So, but we didn't get to see that. And then Beverly learns that Rush is pregnant. Rush explains that I've been feeling nauseated, this, that, and the other. And it turns out I'm pregnant. And then she immediately lunges to rub Rush's baby. I'm like, guess who's not black? Like, we act like we're not pregnant until the baby's 5 years old. Yeah, we do that. That's weird. But we do. But she goes and she's like, oh, rubs the baby. I was like, oh, okay. It must be some shit y'all do out there. Over there. I'm in Limpopo. You don't be without invite going in to rub people's bellies. And sometimes even with invite, when you feel your energy is off, maybe you're not feeling well that day or whatever, you don't want to, we're energy people. We don't do things like that. We just don't. I find it weird when people lunge for people's bellies and just want to, like, what's wrong with you? The hell's wrong with you? And then in this scene, we learned something else about Rushta. Oh, Rushta says, I'm so tired of hearing about these flowers that Beverly said she was trying to get to me, and I was not available, I was not answering my phone. And then she says, I could relate to her so much. Yeah, she says that it's her phone. Like, if she's not trying to be harassed on her phone. People are having such a difficult concept understanding that. Not everybody deals with phone calls very well, and I'm one of those people. I don't like phone calls. I don't like them. I feel like text. I feel like voice notes. I feel like, don't put me, especially if we're establishing a relationship or it's work related, and this is work for them, they're colleagues, they're not fucking friends, and you want to be making long personal phone calls. Rabagaini, exactly, like Rabagaini. I'm very strict about who gets my personal number, and I don't apologize for it. I have my reasons. I get anxious when I'm getting phone calls from people I do not have that strong of a relationship with. I don't want to be anxious. I'm not paying for a phone for other people to make me anxious on it. So anyway, she explains that, and then when she learns that Beverly's Rush is pregnant, she lets it all go because she wants to rub the belly so bad. And then in the next scene, we see Tato invites Loveline and Roxy to an art studio run by some guy. I think she said his name is Craig or Greg. I'm not sure. I forgot. But he's an origami artist. Like he makes little paper butterflies, and then he uses those butterflies to create an image. So I loved it. There's so much texture and movement in his art. And then he teaches them how to fold the butterfly, and they try to do something. Again, this could be a cute date. This is just me trying to help men, because men seem to have a difficult time knowing how to date. We can talk about that later. I don't mean that. I don't really want to help y'all. But they're at the studio. They're sitting there talking, and Tato's like, she feels like she actually got it right this time and that they actually impressed. Roxy confronts Tato about the fact that you told me not to address the issue of Mohammed with Beverly, only for you to go behind my back and tell her about my encounter with Mohammed. So I didn't understand why you went behind my back. And I like that Roxy's so confrontational and so upfront and stuff. And then in the scene, she also invites Tato and Barkemango Loveline to her son's Mugidi. They keep saying the Mugidi. A ceremony to welcome him back from the mountain from initiation school. And she's having a gathering, very small, very intimate. She invites, and then Loveline says, when is this supposed to be? Like 3 days, like you're inviting us 3 days before. Then Roxy says, but when you invited me on the day of the birthday party or the day before, and I came. And then Loveline's response is, yeah, it's not a welcoming of like a young man back home now that he's transitioned into manhood. It was a birthday party. So what, bitch, you didn't know when your child's birthday was? Like, does that even track? Did you decide on the day that you're throwing the party? That don't even track. And then we don't see in the scene if Loveline ever says, I won't be able to honor the invite, I have this other engagement. And we'll address this later on because we see it later in the episode. She doesn't say that, all the scene cuts and it doesn't get to make it on screen so as to make it look juicier. Then we cut to Camilla. She's sitting at home. Very old school of her. I like this. I like things I can touch and feel. She's writing out invitations for the sleepover. And her son, Michael, whom she says doesn't have his dad anymore. So I'm guessing the man she's with now, who's fathered the other two children whom we've seen in previous episodes, that's not Michael's biological dad. So Michael gets to sit with his mom. And then they're talking about the sleepover. And Camilla says, I want to invite the girls out to Grayton, I think she calls it. The moment she said it, and then Michael described the feel of it. First of all, when they said Grayton, I'm like, it's giving one of these Western Cape small towns somewhere where the property is like really overpriced so as to keep the blacks away. And it probably has like a rich, and I use the word rich, I don't even know I use the word rich. It's got a colonial stench on it that everybody tries to convince you is Chanel No. 5. That's what I was right, because I googled it and it was giving all the colonial feels, the architecture and stuff, the small. You're not supposed to say anything about the stench on it, right? As a black person, when you enter into these kind of spaces, you're just supposed to talk about how pretty the buildings are. And the older you get, you can't talk about how pretty all you can think about is how you weren't allowed in these spaces just 28 years ago. So this is where she wants to take these black women out to the country in the Western Cape. I might actually enjoy a town like this because I'm from outside of Zanin. Like, all the towns here are small and quaint and fucking racist. So I might actually feel right at home. But Michael describes that it's got like markets and it's got this and that. I don't know if these ladies are gonna enjoy. And she says they'll be staying at a place called the Lady Grace, I think. Oh, all the coloring, I just love it. It's like how people were obsessed at my college with the Mount Nelson. Oh my god, it's like 100 years old. Do you have any fucking idea what I as a black person hear when you say that? Anyway, that's what we get to see. And then she talks about how the girls were trying to invite themselves into her home, but she's decided to take over this thing since they want to sleep over so bad and to do it the way that she wants to do it. And she does just that, and I can respect that. Loveline and Beverly meet up at, what is this? It's a knockoff something. But they meet up somewhere to buy things to fend evil spirits. Bev walks into the scene first, like sage and stuff, and we walk in and we see a person of tomorrow that's like a racially ambiguous person. We can't tell, like it's Cape Town, so they're all colored. At least they all identify as colored, definitely not as black or really African. They want to be anything but black, in my experience. If we're gonna be honest, colored people will tell you about their Cape Malay, this and that, and their grandmother who was Dutch, and they'll tell you everything except who raped who and their Koza granddaddy. They like to position themselves as close to white as possible. So excuse me if I don't like to engage in the argument of colored people are black too. They don't identify as black, so I don't claim them. Anyway, we see a person of tomorrow in there, and he's like saying thing to Beverly, burning stuff. It could be anything, guys. Give yangi. Like this person could have just gone out. Like literally, whatever that is. Yeah, this logo it's in Pepu telling Beverly, I don't even give a shit. Like this knockoff shit, this like commodification. English can be such a fucking disease. But like how we've commodified traditional ways of life is very just fucking disgusting to me, and I'm not getting into it. There he is, Pepe, saging away Beverly or whatever, and she's like, no, we're looking for something to sage this person's home, this, that, and the other. Loveline comes over to the shop while Bev is in there already, and she's the African woman who's so quick to tell us about how she's spooked by African things and how she's bringing holy oil and holy water because black people so badly want to disassociate from African ways of life because, again, proximity to whiteness or Western ways is the way to go. It's just, I can't even believe people still do this to themselves. Here's an African woman married to an African man, and her whole thing is, I don't even know what these things are, and you should be embarrassed. I mean, I'm gonna bring holy water. I'm gonna bring holy this. Like, okay, girl, shut up. They talk about, or anyway, they get stuff to go sage Beverly's thing. Camilla actually calls them while they're there to invite them to the sleepover, and I'm not sure if it's in the scene that she lets them know that it's gonna be in Grayton, but I don't think she does. I don't think they know that it's gonna be elsewhere in this scene. Bev sits down with Loveline and talks and confronts her essentially about her bringing, oh my god, she was so shady here. Beverly's like, I mean, I was quite, what is the word she used? But she said, at you bringing your, anyway, but she said, oh my god, guys, Beverly's condescending as fuck. Is anybody clocked Beverly talking about how at you bringing pretty much your store-bought sushi in a plastic tub? Like, she made sure to talk about everything she found wrong. The shade was not 100,000 trillion, yeah. And then Barkamang, the African woman who doesn't know African ways of life then says that she should have bought African food for her to be really offended if that's the case. It's like, we're gonna pick and choose when to dip and dabble into our Africanness. like as per convenience. Okay, whatever, girl. Was a nice comeback though. Like she's like, oh, I should have bought pap and whatever it is that she said for you to be really offended, because then Loveline says in the confessionals that she's been on many luxurious yachts, or whatever it is how she says it, but she's been on many luxurious yachts and there's been food, people have been catered for. It's that loaning element of it. If Beverly had paid for that yacht to be chartered, then she could have had a full. I mean, I've watched Below Deck. Yachts have chefs on, like, I remember when I was in college, everybody wanted to be a private yacht chef, right? Because the money's good and what have you, and you get to travel essentially for free because you're working, right? Yachts have chefs. So the idea that people are not gonna eat because you think they're gonna knock things over, they'll clean. People knock things over all the time. It never tracked. It just never tracked for me. I'm sorry. Bev goes to see Camilla. Bev says when she's at Camilla's, everything is just so old. I mean, here's what's crazy about me, right? One of my favorite YouTubers is a girl by McKenna. She has 2 channels, a vlogging channel, XO McKenna Vlogs and XO McKenna. And she's been renovating this 110-year-old cottage. She's American. Somewhere in Texas, I think, is where they bought the cottage, her and her significant other, Romeo. And her style that she's decided to take on for this house has been to honor the time period and the integrity of the house, if you would like, because you know we like to preserve ways of life that have excluded other people or remind, like, people have. Anyway, let me not again politicize this very frivolous show. Let's just stick to the shits and giggles bit of it. We see her, McKenna, she's renovating this place, and her style is very modern but very vintage. Anyway, when I'm seeing Camilla's house, it reminds me a little bit of that, but McKenna's approach is not quite, it's not so literal and so vintage. It's still, it's vintage but modern. I don't know how to explain it, and I have appreciation for her style, but I'm having such a difficult time. Like, Camilla just looks stuck in a period. She just looks stuck in a time and period. It's not giving inspired by vintage. It's giving, I so badly wanted to be alive in like 1918 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so Beverly's like, oh my god, everything's so old. She tries to invite herself in other parts of the house. Camilla is, the white woman in Camilla shows up in this episode. We get to meet why she's the queen of Constance. She has hard lines and boundaries, clear in her communication. I can appreciate this. Initially, when Beverly them invited themselves to a sleepover in a house to mock her house, really, and make like, oh, I feel like they're so extra. Like, she likes old things. Like, do we need to sage this woman's house because she likes it old? Like, I don't even know what the fuck this was. But in the last episode, when they invited themselves over to her home, she let it happen. But I think she went home and she sat with it and she's like, no, these people are coming here. It's my home. I don't invite people into my home unless that's what I want to do, so they can't invite themselves in. I will give them a sleepover, but I will do it on my fucking terms. I can respect that. Then she explains to Beverly, we're going to Grayton for this fucking sleepover. Beverly, no, but I thought we were supposed to have it here. This is my idea. It's your idea to have a sleepover in somebody else's home, which is what Camilla says. Like, you want to invite yourself into it. And then when Beverly starts to realize how riled up or irritated and stern in her like, she's so like, we're not fucking having it here. It's no longer her idea. She's like, it was Loveline's idea. Loveline nudged me this way, really. Do you see? White women will throw you under the bus. White women, like, they really will. For free, they'll throw you under the bus. And then it's like, oh, so it's Loveline's idea now. Anyway, she sees her out. She sees Beverly out. Beverly goes to the car, sends Loveline a voice note saying, I'm at Camilla's. She switched the venue. I'm going to go back in there and just sage the place up. You are going back into first of all, that house is so big. Like, why the fuck they didn't hear her come back in? It's so huge. takes the mpepu or sage, I don't know what she got at the place where they were getting the stuff that Loveline doesn't understand. Goes back and like sages this woman's home without her consent and without her fucking knowledge. Who does that? Who fucking does that? Kuloyana, where we come from. You could be burning anything. I walk into my home and you in my home without my consent. Now it's you bringing the fucking bad energy because I don't know what the fuck that is. Beveli waloyana, ki beveli wamuloy from now on, and I don't give a shit. Roxy has her Mugidi, has her ceremony for her son. Her family's all there. It's small, it's intimate. It's what we expect if you know these things. Like culturally, I'm not Koza, like, but we do. It's small. It's always like a very intimate affair. We're welcoming this young man home from whatever nonsensical lessons he went to learn from the other nonsense men, which is usually the case. Like, I don't know if I had them in a fucking bind. Do you guys remember when Neba came out? Oh my god, the Koza men were losing it. You hear me? It was fun to watch because honestly, we have our initiation school around the June holidays, and they do it that way because they get circumcised and whatever, so they're trying to make sure that they heal, and you'd heal a lot better in the cold and not in the summer, right? But there's like no fucking rules anymore. Why is a 7-year-old, 12-year-old boy allowed to go to? Is this not a transition from boyhood to manhood? What's a 7-year-old doing there? Like, he's gonna come back and start telling me that he's a man. Akakono taba lilagangaili tetengai. Nonsense. Anyway, it's a beautiful thing. Rixie's emotional. You know, she's managed to raise this boy, and he seems to be a young, respectful man and what have you. Tato arrives in her mini dress. Like, honestly, when she walked in, it didn't look that small. It's when she got up to hug Rixie and comfort her and be a sister to her, where I was like, Maratato, Telsaroko, Tato, and not to slight shame or any, but like Telsaroko. Rushda also comes later on, and then they talk about how Loveline isn't there. And Loveline, we see in another scene, is at the Queen's Plate. That's the races, the horse races, where all the people, the socialites go and they take pictures and they make you feel like you're missing out on something and you're really not. So Loveline decided to go and do her influencer thing, which is what she's saying she's working at the Queen's Plate, where we're actually introduced to a new cast member who goes by Lou. If I remember correctly, her full name is Luanda or Luluan, I don't know, Lou. Lou's a mom influencer. They know each other from the momfluencer space, and we get to meet her and her team. Body, Adi, Yadi, legs, hips. Like, she's a beautiful woman, right? We get to see a little bit of her life. She lets us know that it takes a village, it takes a team to put this brand together and to keep it going. I like to see that. All of this, I'm superwoman, I can do it by myself, is just not real. It's unsustainable. Burnout is a thing. It's nice to know that people have help. A lot of the times, the momfluencers like to make like they just have it under control. And I'm doing all of it without a nanny. That's why you look tired. Droopy-eyed bitch. Like, that's why you look tired. It's not cute. So I'm glad, I appreciated that element of her saying, you know, it takes a team to put me together and to keep this brand going. We meet her, and then we cut back to Roxy's affair, and everybody's like, because Tata's also like, I skipped out on the Queen's Plate. I had an invite to go there. Rushda as well. They're Cape Town socialites, so they probably frequent these things, right? And they were like, that's going to come up again. They'll have it every year. It's how it works, so there'll be another race. This ceremony is coming up just this one time for this person whom we're forming a friendship with. I'd rather go to this and support this because it's such an intimate thing, and she's invited me into this intimate space. I want to honor this invite. whereas her so-called friend of 16 years chose to snub her. I said in one of my other reviews that I don't think these people are friends like that. And then Roxy starts to say, I think she's my friend, but maybe I'm not her friend. Like, she's clearly not valuing me and our friendship at the same level that I value her and our friendship. And I'm starting to see that now. So I'll be acting accordingly. I'll be reciprocating whatever energy she gives me. I'm gonna meet her there. I can't wait. And like, you know, Tata comforts her when she's getting very emotional about this ceremony for her son, and she's like, you've done a good job, you've managed to raise this boy, you did. And Roxy seems very appreciative of that. She's like, I like this side of Tato, you know, the sensitive part of her, this motherly part of her. It's really something. Loveline invites Lou onto the trip with the girls, and we will see next episode how that unfolds. But that's pretty much what happened in episode 5. That's it, Yella. Bye.